Hello everyone, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, and all the things it takes to help you live the highest quality, most fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us today. I'm with my guest, Candice Trudel. Hi, Candice.
Hi, Joyce.
So happy to get a chance to get to know you today. Candice has a website where you can reach her, www.candicetrudel.com, and we'll put that on the show notes for you to see. And also is work as a holistic nutritionist and a bunch of other things, which we'll get into, at Nashua Family Chiropractic. I'm so excited because there's many things that you do. But I'd like to know first how you got into health and wellness in this field to begin with. Has this been something you've done forever?
No, well, I've been interested in nutrition for as long as I can remember. But when I started school, I was interested in a lot of things. So I was on a very extended path to get my bachelor's degree. I started out in nutrition and I ended up back in nutrition, but I had a lot of other things in the middle.
Where did you go to school?
I went to UMass Lowell. Well, first I went to Northeastern, and then I transferred over to UMass Lowell when I realized I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I even wanted to be a French teacher at one point, so I can't speak French, so I don't know where that came from. But so then when I finally was like, okay, this is what I want to do, I was at UMass Lowell, and the program that they had at the time was a nutrition degree coupled with clinical lab sciences. So I got into the lab field and testing research, nutrition research in particular. And I don't know where that really came from too, but it was interesting at the time. And when I got out of school, I ended up with a master's right away because I had so many credits. It didn't take me too long to achieve it. So once I graduated, I started working for the Mayo Clinic and in toxicology. So I was doing a lot of lab testing on the clinical side of things. So I had a lot of Western nutrition background up until I started having my own sort of health experience, and I think this is something that happens a lot in the holistic field. You see these practitioners that they all have a story, and that's what happened with me as well. I was in my 20s, and I just started having some unexplained joint pain, inflammation, and all of my Western doctors, they were just kind of trying to throw opiates at me or steroids, and then saying, okay, you go see a rheumatologist in 2 months. And I'm like, I couldn't walk at the time. It was that bad. Yeah. Wow. And, I was very healthy all up until that point, active. And so I went to Mass General to see my first rheumatologist out there. And, I had the whole gamut of, the rheumatoid drugs, methotrexate and Plaquenil, all that stuff. And I wasn't getting any positive rheumatoid factor or anything. They were just calling it a seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. And at the time, I was also doing a project on Lyme disease testing and how faulty the testing was. And I was like, this is me. I kept asking all my doctors to run a particular test because I knew that the ones that they used to screen were not very reliable. But, they stuck by their guns and they said, there's no reason why the tests that we use are not, good enough. So nobody would run the tests until I started to see a naturopath. And the first naturopath I saw, she heard my story and she's like, this is Lyme disease. I'm going to run the test, the Western blot by IGeneX, and the one I'd been begging my other doctors to run for years, and it was that simple. And I got the test back. It was positive, their standard, CDC standards, and then that's really where my journey began. I started to see another naturopath who specialized in Lyme disease, and she happened to be an Ayurvedic practitioner as well. So here I was, doing all these things that weren't really familiar to me, putting oil on my body and, changing my diet, doing different testing and things like that, herbs and whatnot. And I was just really doing what I was told, and I was getting better. But it was a slow road. It was another about 6 years until I got Lyme-free. And at that point, I was still at Mayo, and they ended up just deciding to absorb us. We were a satellite lab, so the main campus absorbed us. And so I fortunately was out of a job. This wasn't necessarily what my dream job was to begin with. It had kind of played its course at this point, and I was already enrolled in a holistic nutrition program out in Portland, Oregon. And so kind of the balls were already rolling, you know, things were kind of being put into place, and it was like almost like the universe shoving me into that direction. And so it was great. So I finished that program. I got another master's in holistic nutrition, and now I had the time as well because I didn't have a job. And then I also enrolled in an Ayurvedic practitioner program out at Kripalu in Western Mass, and that was recommended to me by my naturopath just because it had changed her practice too, you know, kind of just opened her eyes in a different way in the way that she deals with her patients. And so she invited me into her practice at that point, and that was like, you know, a dream come true for me. And that's where I really got, you know, some of my first experience, you know, just working with this person, my mentor, you know, at the time. And yeah, so that's kind of where it all began. So I really wanted to kind of just help people that were in similar situations to me. You know, I'm just a big, you know, fan of being an advocate for yourself, for your health, but a lot of people don't know what to say or don't have somebody, you know, to maybe speak up for them. So I try to encourage that with the people that I work with, and definitely my family. I'm that person in, you know, in the family role. So, but yeah, so it feels good. It feels like I'm doing, you know, doing my dharma now, you know, doing the work. So.
Wow, you're an intensely curious person for sure, and to have explored so many things, I think that served you really well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you also teach yoga. You mentioned that you.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so during my, you know, recovery, my healing process, I was exposed to Bikram yoga. So it's heated yoga. It's 105 degrees in the room with humidity. It's not for everybody, but it is for everybody. People get a little scared of it, right? But, you know, ever since I was little, and I used to do gymnastics and cheerleading and all these things where you're supposed to be this flexible person, I was never flexible. I was always like a stone, you know. I had more strength than flexibility. So being in the heated room and where, you know, everything was affecting my joints at that time, it just really helped to, you know, just get my body moving, you know, and open things up. And I didn't know at the time, too. I mean, it's just really great for detoxifying. And, you know, when you have Lyme, you know, the bacteria, it exists at a certain temperature in the body, too. And so you're raising the body temperature to a higher level. You know, even if it's a slight degree, that makes a big difference, you know. So I think all those things really helped with my healing process, and it was a big part of it. So once again, if I find something that works, I want to know why. So So just this past June, I graduated and I did a 500-hour teacher training. It's a Hatha yoga teacher training, but the Bikram style. So that was intense. And so now I teach in Chelmsford at the Hot Yoga Factory and in Nashua at Bikram Yoga Nashua.
Okay, so that's a couple other places people can find you. And that's separate from what you do at the Nashua Family Chiropractic?
Yeah. And, you know, when I work with clients, you know, I like to incorporate not just nutrition, you know, advice, but also lifestyle, you know, advice as well, too. So whether it's a breathing exercise or, you know, different postures that are great for certain things, you know, now just having that background, too, you know, you get to kind of pull your package together even more, you know. So I'm kind of trying, you know, I have all these different areas that I ventured out into, but they all have a similar center, you know. They can all kind of come together for an overall, the holistic, you know. That's
the word. I'm definitely getting that sense of you see the world holistically, and you. It sounds like you're, and I'm going to ask you this, that you're finding different ways to deliver the same thing. It's just part of the whole.
Yeah.
So you've different ways that you help people. So let's start with it. at Nashua Family Chiropractic, you see clients there.
Yep.
And primarily for nutrition?
Yes, yeah. So we are now a wellness center. It started off as just a chiropractic office. Dr. Brandon Lanassis there, it was a family business his father started, and his vision was to have it be, kind of this all-in-one, one-stop shop wellness center. So now we have myself doing nutrition. We have acupuncture and chiropractic and massage therapy. So primarily what I see there is nutrition. People come in for nutrition advice, but they leave with, I think, a lot more than that.
You go beyond the food, right?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's an expression I use a lot because I think that, you know what to do, you just don't do it. Okay, let's stop talking about food. Let's start talking about some of the whys.
Exactly, yeah.
So do you see people like ongoing? Do you see people just one time or some of each?
Yeah, some of each, and it depends on where people are in their journey too and how ready they are to, do the work, because I say it all the time, when people come into the office to see, the chiropractor or the acupuncturist, they're getting their treatment there, and they get to leave and feel probably better. Yeah. When they come and see me, they get homework, so it's a lot more than just, me putting my hands on you or doing, an actual, physical manipulation. It's, you're working on yourself now, and I'm just your cheerleader, in that way, and your coach, a lot like yourself, just giving everybody the tools, but then it's really up to you what you do with it, and that's the hard work. Yeah. Because people are stuck, in their ways, and we are a convenience world, and we don't really like getting out of that comfort zone for the most part, Yeah.
So I'm curious about that stuckness and just your thoughts on it, of when how you assess a person's readiness, and are you able to do any special tricks to help people get unstuck or get that beginning momentum, get traction?
Yeah, so depending on where people are, I try to meet them where they are, so it's the baby steps, little things. And
oh my God, you sound so much like me.
Really? Oh, wonderful. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's you can't do, Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't do everything all at once. And that gets overwhelming for people, and the most monumental things, come in very, very small packages too. And people don't realize when they're walking away with, very simple instructions, how much this is going to change, their life, and just setting it up, So it's setting up the foundation always, and it's about building routine, I think, first, and just getting into the new habits. So you have to consistently do it. That was something that when I was in Ayurvedic training, one of our professors, she always said little by little, over and over, and that really stuck with me.
I
and
love
I think
that.
A lot of people, yeah. So I think that's really what it's about.
Have you had any success stories that you're that could exemplify?
Yes, So I have this one client who came in recently after she was being kind of pushed by someone that knows me, just saying, you should go see Candice, you really will benefit, So she came in, and initially it was just really more about weight loss, but she didn't realize, what, else was going on with her. And there was a lot of just kind of emotional stuff tied to it. She's a mother, she's somebody that puts everybody else first, and so they weren't probably eating the best, but at the same time, it was also because she wasn't really doing a lot of the cooking. She, was at work, long, long hours. She'd come home, she'd make something quick, that was simple, and then, she'd be up the rest of the night, whether it was cleaning or doing this or writing emails, and, so it was a lot of just kind of getting back to, and this is what I like, when people come in and it's just them, whether or not they want this to extend to their family, it's all about them first, and that's how I kind of approach it with them. So for her, we started with some of the small things, But then it was, she did a meal plan with me. She started making the food, and she realized it wasn't that scary, So she had some moments at the supermarket where she didn't know what this was, and she took an hour her first time. But then, she had me, and so I was coaching her through that too. But yeah, so it's been so people that are afraid, to cook too, which I don't, because I'm not that person. And sometimes it's like, oh, wow, yeah, this is really where people can be sometimes, and she she's been working with me for, I think, 2 months. She's lost 18 pounds, and that wasn't what our goal was.
Yeah.
It was, you're just going to eat real food, and it doesn't all have to be, salads. It's not salads, it's just eating the food that's best for your constitution, best for you, which she has a great, strong constitution too, so that makes my work easier. But and she's been doing a lot more for herself, she's been she's not doing all that extra stuff at night. She's, sitting and she's reading a book, or she's doing a breathing exercise, or, something to get back to herself. And she's just told me how she just feels like she's the person that she wants to be for her family now more, and that's such a short amount of time, and just like really simple changes that she's
How
making.
long has it happened?
Only a couple of months now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's I call it mindset over strategy. Having to so much work has to be done with who you are, who you think you are, that vision. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's beautiful. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
I was gonna. There was something else you said. I didn't want to interrupt you, but it'll come back to me. Other things that you do classes and workshops. Yep. How else do you help people?
Well, I'm doing actually a workshop coming up next Monday. I'm starting to work with the Nashua Senior Center, a 4-week program with them, just very simple, just about how to kind of thrive, as you age.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, just cleaning up the diet a little bit. We're going to do a guided food shopping one of the evenings, but then it's going to be, giving some nutrition lectures and whatnot as well. But yeah, so whether it's, a workshop like that, the yoga studios and whatnot. I mean, I also go into companies and I will do a lunch and learn or something like that. I'm trying now to get more into different women's networking groups too, because that's really close to my heart, is women's health.
Well, let me tell you about Confident Women Consortium.
Okay.
So this is an opportunity to meet. We have one coming up next Thursday.
Okay.
Of course, we're talking about this here, and it won't be next Thursday because this is going to air at a different time. But it's just an opportunity to bring women together, have a healthy meal together, and just listen to a speaker. And it has to do with confidence. So that's not networking so much as to hard sell our skills. But just to get to know people. Yeah,
that's what I've really enjoyed about the women's networking that I've been doing, because it's more along that line, and it's got that feminine vibe, And I'm in other networking groups where it's like, you present who you are every time, you deliver, you're looking for, you're trying to let everyone know who, your ideal client is and whatnot, and it just... This resonates so much more, because...
Well, you should come and attend. Yeah. It would be wonderful to have you there, but you also should consider speaking, because you would be a wonderful speaker for us.
Thank you. Sure.
So,
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. What else? One of the things I wanted to ask was, because it was prominent on your website and in what you've been saying today, is tell me about Ayurvedic, because I think just for our audience, it might be fun just to educate us a little bit more about what that means, so it's not intimidating.
Yeah, it is really fun, actually.
Yeah.
So Ayurveda is just India's traditional system of medicine. So it's a lot like Chinese medicine in that it's developed with a 5-element theory. So earth, air, water, space, and fire. And so these 5 elements make us up as people. It's what makes us different. Because the different distribution of the elements from one person to the next is going to make you, and me. It also makes up all the food that we eat, the seasons, lifestyle activities, everything, everything. Basically, Ayurveda is translated as the science of life. So the way that it works with me and my clients, it's like, I mean, now I don't know what my practice would be without it, because it's really transformed how you view someone. So you see the elements now in people and food, and so you work with that to balance. So you use opposites to balance. So a lot of the time, for somebody that has maybe a lot of fire in their constitution, they're going to be drawn to fire as well. So we're always in this state of kind of trying to get back into balance when we are almost always, driven to things that are bringing us a little bit out of balance. So it's a really intuitive and, simple way to use food and lifestyle techniques to balance something that's going on with somebody. So say there's, this is a simple and it's almost obvious, but if people have heartburn, that's an obvious fire, right? That's going on. So what would you do to balance that? You would use some cooling things, like your coconut water, different things like that, cooling spices, like cumin and coriander, fennel, as opposed to, maybe going out and getting some Mexican with a margarita, so that's fire. So, yeah, so it's just simple stuff like that, but it just it really transforms how you view everything.
Yeah. So a different vocabulary, different language.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that just made me think, in your practice, do you find yourself taking things out? A lot of times people come to me with a bag of supplements and they want to have all these tests done, and I'm like, let's simplify things.
Exactly.
Do you find yourself, having that technique of simplifying and
Yes.
taking things out?
Yeah.
For example?
Yeah, so, when it comes to people coming in and, they want to know what supplements are the best, and what is for them, and it's more, that it's not, I'm not a reductionist sort of, mentality. It's, the whole is not merely a sum of its parts, it's eating the whole food, and that synergistic effect that you have when you eat the food is going to be completely different than when you take a supplement. And it's a lot like even a pharmaceutical. And this is where people's constitutions come into play too, because, everything is medicine, everything is a poison. It's all about the dosage, and it's all about the person, right? So if your pharmaceutical is giving you a side effect, it's not a side effect, it's an effect, and that's because your body processes things differently than somebody else, and it's because of what is making up both of those things. So, I just think that, the Western science world, where it does shine, it also has that sort of one-size-fits-all, mentality, and that's just not the way things are, So absolutely simplifying, getting people in to just, even just talking about why they're taking all of these things, because they think they need so many more things than you really do. And I think it also feels good when you can kind of release some of that, hold that they have on you, because, it can be, I was there at one point too, in my health journey, where I was taking, so many different supplements, one for this, one for that, but I also was on medications too, so you're taking something for that, and it's like, it's exhausting, and yeah, so it's really about getting back to just that, what are you putting in your body? Is it the whole foods? Get the most that you can out of your food, and that's where also, RDAs, recommended daily allowances. Those are not something that I pay attention to, and Ayurveda has taught me that as well with seasonal eating. We should be getting everything that we need within a year's time. It's not about thinking, okay, well, I need to eat, 3 bags of kale a day because I need, it's just not realistic. So, and it's just not needed. So I think that that's something that we kind of have to get back to as well. The seasonal eating is really inspiring to me.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you feel the same way about just you're getting into concert with your own body and having your body trust you, and really listening to what your body is going to tell you what it needs when you've got gut health and gut balance.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. We're starting to get down in time, and I just feel like we're only beginning. I wanted to just ask a little bit about you. Or do you have children? You married?
I'm married, yes.
Yeah.
No children yet. I just had my first nephew in the family.
Oh,
so,
congrats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I'm obsessed.
Practice
it's been
baby.
a year, but
Practice
exactly.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no, but my husband and I, we've known each other since kindergarten.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's actually kind of an embarrassing story because I was a bit of a stalker back then. We went to grammar school together, kindergarten, all the way up to high school, even some of college actually. But we lived a street over from each other, so in my house I could go up to the attic and with binoculars see him outside if he happened to be playing basketball or something. So I was a little obsessed with him up until like 8th grade, and then high school we've had the same group of friends, growing up, as well as other friends, other groups, but. He was a musician, and it was the grunge phase back then too. So I was over it, and I was a cheerleader, and different groups at that point. And then after college, I didn't even know he was interested in me, and we were only friends up until that point. So it was a little bit strange at first, but so now we've been together. It took him 13 years to propose to me. So we've been on a long path together, but so we've been married for 2 years now. But, we got married on New Year's Eve. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So he's great.
That's wonderful. It's funny, I was a cheerleader too.
Really?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah. So, time to wrap up, but I do want to ask you, because I always ask my guests, what are the top 3 things it takes for you personally to be totally well?
The top 3 things. Definitely time with my family. Definitely the food that I put in my body, and I've really loved sharing that with family. And meditating. Meditating has really been a big part of my journey as of lately, especially.
I'm hearing more and more of that, sleep and meditating being key factors. How do you meditate? What do you use to meditate?
I like to do guided meditations, and I am all about multitasking, even though, I know you really can't multitask. So,
it's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So I do
But
it in the tub.
trying.
Yeah, so I have a bath, and, I have my, guided meditations that I like to do.
Is there anyone in particular that you like
I love Deepak Chopra.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
him and his voice, so those are really my go-tos. Yeah.
I think I learned I call it Oprah and Chopra.
Oh, that's so funny. Oprah, too. I saw her when she came to Lowell recently. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I didn't realize how much I loved her until I saw her. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to wrap up, so I just want to say one more time, Candice Trudel at Candice Trudel, Trudel, and it's Candice with an I.
Yes.
Yeah, CandiceTrudel.com. And you can also find Candice at Nashua Family Chiropractic, and at a Bikram Yoga studio near you, Chelmsford and Nashua.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much. I feel like I've met my twin. Except,
wonderful. And we're wearing purple.
I know, we get the purple and all. So, thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
I love what you do, obviously, and hopefully people will be able to find you and benefit from all your knowledge.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.